All right. So I'm back. And first and foremost, I wanted to thank everybody that has been keeping up with Steph and I and what we've been going through. Clearly, I've been gone since I think we recorded last time in December. And January kind of just life changes and things happen to some people. And really, it's not really about how things happen to you, is really how you react and how you change your view of how these negative situations happen. And I'm glad I'm back mentally. As I mentioned in my story the other day, I'm ready to start sharing information, really what happened and what my journey has been in such a short period of time. It's been already 6 months, so it feels good to be back, excited to provide value to you guys and really start sharing different perspectives of both personal and business as I've done in the past, but this is a good start. So as some of you may already know, Stephanie and I were having twins. We announced it sometime in November or December, and man, it was just a dream come true. My wife and I were taking these steps to try to get pregnant. We've been now this month, we're actually gonna make 9 years together, 4 of those years trying to have kids, and what a blessing. We ended up getting pregnant, and sure enough, it was twin boys. As you may already have seen somewhere in my feed, I did have a video from our gender reveal. That was an incredible moment with friends and family. And shortly after that, this is how life can change in a pivot very quickly. You wake up, get dressed, go to work, have your day planned out, and we had a typical standard visit with the doctor. And the doctor, I just saw it in her face. Immediately, she said, "There's a problem. Steph, we're gonna have to admit you at the hospital." And man, I was like, my wife was 25 weeks pregnant. She's halfway through the pregnancy. And obviously it's a huge concern, right? We go to the hospital, they admit my wife, they check her ultrasound and they check the babies. The babies weren't as bad as they thought. Initially, it was probably a lack of blood flow from the placenta to baby B. And sure enough, the very next day, they did a blood work on her that indicated that she has something called HELLP syndrome. HELLP syndrome is something that's super, super rare. Less than 1% of ladies, unfortunately, end up having HELLP syndrome in the United States. Super, super rare. And essentially all that means is that the platelet counts were super low and her liver enzymes were super, super high. These cases don't present many symptoms. They just happen out of nowhere. And since 1982, when this was developed, the only cure till today is delivery of the babies. So of course, immediately all the thoughts start coming into your mind. The entire surgery team, neonatologist, and all the surgeons really came into the room and started explaining to us the statistics. And that was probably the scariest moment of my life. That's when really you get hit with reality, like this is really happening. And that's when you start noticing, man, like your life can change in a flip of a dime. They basically told me that Levi, which was baby B, that his statistical chances of survival were less than 10%. And that Benjamin, baby A, that his statistics were around 20% with no disabilities and about 30% with disabilities. So at that moment, I have to look at my wife and say, what really can happen here is that we can lose you and both the babies, because what happens is when the enzymes and the platelet counts separate so drastically, to give you an example, it's about 78 to 80 that a regular woman should have, and she was at like 400. She could have had an internal bleed within seconds and she could have passed. So at that moment, you have to think life over limb. Obviously, my wife is the priority. We prayed together and we said, we got to do what we have to do. And essentially, things started progressing in that direction. A few days later, after they really narrowed it down that her blood work continued to progress in the wrong way, they had to do the delivery and the babies were born. Levi was born just under a pound and Benjamin was born just over a pound. Both were delivered, no crying. They just basically take them straight to the NICU. And just to give you perspective, you don't know what's going to happen. 1, survival rates are super low. And 2, if there is survival, you're practically going to be living in a hospital for a very, very long time. And when you are in business and you have your phone with over 150 communications a day inbound, and you have a team and you have responsibilities to clients and you have responsibilities to your family, and it's a complete change of life that happens to you that you have no control over, that's when life gets real quick. And for us, we were blessed to have a lot of support. One of the biggest things I want to mention is I am super thankful to my partners, Jonny and Beatrice. Man, I get emotional because I was not expecting this. Business partners and friends can be very separate, but when someone taps you on the shoulder and says, bro, take care of your family, we got you, that means the world to me. So I definitely want to thank my partners, because those 3 months of my life were the worst of my life, and financially they were the best, which is insane. God has a way of making things work. So I'm just very thankful for my business partnership that I have with them. Is incredible. Needless to say, as a business, we crushed our numbers. We did record months, January, February, and March. We've never done that much volume at the time. Now, thankfully, here we are in June, and we're still progressing in the right direction month over month. And it's insane how your life stops, and to be able to have the privilege to step back and still have your finances in order and business is still going, and you can dedicate 100% of time to your family, that in itself is a game changer. So I'm very thankful to my partners. As you can tell, it gets me very emotional because these people mean a whole lot to me, and hopefully it shows on camera. So with that said, 7 days later, after both babies were born, we got a call at 4 a.m. that the doctor says that Levi was not doing well and that we needed to come in. And we came in, and unfortunately he passed that same day. He made it 7 days, but his lungs were too premature and he couldn't last more than that. So essentially he passed. The doctors literally did everything that they could. And now the concern really is on Benjamin. Now Benjamin is 7 days old. He was currently receiving like 3 blood transfusions, and it was just take it day by day. The neonatologist team was incredible. We met some incredible people in that journey. One of the nurses invited me to her wedding. Steph and I are going to be part of her wedding, which is incredible. You build great relationships in there. So one day turned to a week turned to 2 weeks. He started progressing. Benjamin started doing well. And man, I've never seen a community of people within the real estate and mortgage industry come together. It was incredible. Like, we had close to maybe, I don't know, just throwing a number out there, 3,000 people all over the world, really. There was countries, Haiti, I think Peru, Argentina, all over the US, friends, family, people praying for Benjamin. And here we are today. Today is what, June 7th, and he's just short of 8 pounds. He's not on oxygen, and he's not on a monitor, and he's doing very well. He beat the statistics, and Steph and I have been coping as best as we can. One thing I'd like to really share is that we have an opportunity to make a lot of money, but the money is not the reason of anything, really. It's not your purpose. The purpose really is to be financially stable, to endure through very tough times, and with a good team and with a lot of work ethic, pay the price now. Don't get caught by surprise, because the other people that were in the NICU going through very similar situations, we had 2 people that went through the same exact thing, and their marriages were crushed, their finances were crushed, and their whole lives really collapsed. And I'm very thankful for this business, my business partners, my friends, my family, and really all the referral partners that have reached out. It was overwhelming, the amount of people that reached out. It was very special for Stephanie and I. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank every single person who reached out. You guys really were the reason why we were so strong to go through it. Obviously, distracting yourself with work helps, because you get to change your mindset and you start doing different things. It was very difficult to get back to it. This today is very difficult to come and start recording, because at some point or another, you got to share it. You got to get it off your chest. You got to talk to people. And really, the mission starts becoming no longer about me. It's about helping other people. There's so many people that are going to go through this in the future. There's so many people that are currently going through it now. And man, if I could just be a lending hand to anybody, that would be amazing, because I feel like I can maybe guide other people in that direction to get through it. There's nothing anybody's gonna really tell you at that moment. We had so many wonderful, beautiful things that people were saying, but man, like, you're in the situation, you gotta accept it. And once you accept it, you start really toughening up and figuring out how you're gonna get out of this and how you're gonna endure. And really, as the man of my house, I had two options. My option one was to man up and deal with the situation the best way I could and lead my family. Or option two, sit back and cry, stand in a corner, be weak, and let the world collapse. And I didn't choose that option. So my word of encouragement would be, pay the price now, because you never know what's going to happen in the future.